Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. I am Erwan and the manager of Astra Holding Berhad. We had some issue back then. In this seminar, we will figure out on how to solve each of them. Firstly, I would love to ask Ms. NURAQILA IZZATY to present on the first topic.
Alright. Personality. What is personality? At its most basic, personality is a characteristic pattern of thought, feelings, and behaviors that makes a person unique. It is believed that personality arises from within the individuals and remains fairly consistent throughout life. While there are many different definitions of personality, most focus on the pattern of behavior, characteristic that can help predict and explain a person's behavior. There are 4 types of Myers-Briggs indicator. The first one is extrovert and introvert. Extroverts are to be action-oriented, enjoy more frequent social interaction, and feel energized after spending time with other people. Introvert tends to be thought-oriented, enjoy deep and meaningful social interaction, and feels recharged after spending time alone. Sensing versus intuitive. Senses are more who prefer sensing to pay a great deal of attention to reality. They tend to focus on facts and details and enjoy getting hands-on experience. Intuition pay more attention to things like patterns and impression. They enjoy thinking about possibility and imagining the future. Thinking versus feeling. Thinking, they tend to be consistent, logical, and impersonal when making a decision. Those who prefer feelings are more likely to consider people and emotion when arriving at a conclusion. Judging and perceiving. The judging perceiving skills helps describe whether you are extrovert when you are taking in new information or when you are making decisions. There are 6 major personalities. The first one is locus of control, the degree to which people believe they are master of their own fate. Machiavellianism, degree to which an individual is pragmatic, maintains emotional distance and believes that ends can justify means. Self-esteem, individuals' degree of liking or disliking themselves. A person with high in self-esteem tend to be more satisfied with their jobs than those with low self-esteem. Self-monitoring, a personal trait that measures an individual's ability to adjust his or her behavior to external situational factors. Personality, identify opportunities, show initiative, takes action, and persevere until meaningful change occurs. Narcissism, a person who has a grandiose sense of self-importance, requires excessive admiration, has a sense of entitlement, and is arrogant.
Now moving on to values. Personal values can be influenced by culture, tradition, and a combination of internal, external factors. Most core values are learned early in life from family, friends, school, the mass print, visual media, neighborhood, and other sources within society. As you can see from this picture, every ringgit has its own value. 1 ringgit has a low value, where some people see it as a small amount and can be earned easily. However, 50 ringgit has a higher value, which makes certain people think twice before spending it. It depends on the person how they value things. Some people value small things, such as a coffee mug or a letter from a special person. For example, next slide. Ali is a manager in a big organization. He has control over a huge number of employees since he handles the big projects, which requires a lot of helping hand. One day, he has been told that the company is going in debt. He accidentally shared that information to one of his employees through his email. He told that employee to keep it a secret, otherwise it will cause a huge problem in the company. A few months went by. When the company settles the debt, not even one other employees knew about the issue that happened. Ali believes that he has an integrity value because he knows that he can be trusted. There are 2 types of values. First is terminal values, and the other one is instrumental. Terminal values are goals that we work towards and view as most desirable. And for instrumental, its preferable modes of behavior and include values like honesty, ambition, independence, competitiveness, and also a few negative traits. This is the types of terminal values and instrumental values.
Next is Hofstede framework for assessing culture. Hofstede framework for assessing culture is a framework used to understand the differences in culture across countries and to discover the ways that business is done across different cultures. There are 5 categories to identify culture. The first one is individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term orientation. Power distance is where people in a country accept that power in institutions and organizations is distributed unequally. Low distance is relatively equal distribution. High distance is extremely unequal distribution. Achievement and masculinity focuses on how extent to which a society stress achievement or nurture. Nurturing femininity to be the trait which stress caring and nurturing behavior, equality, and others. Uncertainty avoidance is the range to which a society feels threatened by uncertain and ambiguous situation and tries to avoid them. High UA feels threatened by uncertainty. Low UA can adapt or adjust to uncertain situation. Long-term orientation. Long-term orientation is when you are focused on the future. If you have this cultural perspective, you value persistent thrift, saving, and being able to adapt. Short-term orientation is when you are focused on the present or past and consider them more important than the future. If you have a short-term orientation, you value tradition, the current social hierarchy, and fulfilling your social obligations. Next is individualism, the point where people prefer to act as individuals rather than becoming member of a group. Collectivism, where individuals see themselves as members of particular groups.
Next, moving on perception. What do you think about this picture? I, as manager, my perception at the one who is asleep is lazy and not doing his work. It is because as other people busy doing discussion at that time, he is sleeping. But I didn't know what he has been through, or either he didn't get enough sleep because doing paperwork at night, or he has his family matter. Perception or also can be said as impression, which interpret to give meaning to their surrounding environment. It depends on complex function of the nervous system, but subjectively seems most effortless because this processing happens outside conscious awareness. Perception is driven by internal and external. Internal does include personality and motivation. Meanwhile, external includes contrast and repetition. This is some of the factors that influence perception. Firstly, the situation, such as time, work, and social setting. As an example, you're in a new renovated office. You look at the table arrangement and your perception it is too messed up. Second one is the target. As an example, as a manager, I choose a new employee based on their background. I only accept those who doesn't have any mental health issue. And the third one, the perceiver, such as attitude, motive, interest, experience, and expectation. As an illusion, you look at one of your colleagues who is always doing charity, and your perception must think that he is rich, right? Moving on, Kelly attribution theory. Kelly attribution theory refers to individuals who observe another person's behavior and determine the cause either from internally or externally. Internally, you can say that he is a very hardworking person to survive in this world by doing what he loves. Externally, you can say that he is poor and not capable of doing any professional job. This is the error and biases in attribution. First is fundamental attribution error. It is a tendency for people to underemphasize situation explanation for an individual observed behavior, while overemphasizing dispositional and personality-based explanation for their behavior. In other words, people have cognitive bias to assume that a person action depends on what kind of person that person is rather on the social and environmental forces that influence the person. The second one is self-serving bias. It is a tendency to taking credit for own positive outcome, but blaming outside factor for negative effects. This can be affected by age, culture, clinical diagnosis, and more. This is the attribution process, such as distinctive, consensus, and consistency. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.